my name is Peter, and I'm joined with Sarah, and we are facilitators with the Ottawa Community Loan Fund, OCLF. You'll probably notice we like to use a lot of acronyms, right? So they're shortcuts, right? So we like to use shortcuts, or we call acronyms. So Sarah and I are both with OCLF, and today we are doing a workshop on budgeting for real life. It's beyond the basics, and it's really practical advice for life here in Ottawa. So a few housekeeping details. You probably know this already since it's not your first OCLF workshop. So please mute your microphone, but keep your camera on. It's nice to see who is with us today. Unmute your microphone if you have a question or comment. And if you prefer, you can use a chat feature, the little box at the bottom, to send in your question or any comments you have. Sarah will be monitoring the chat box and will be sharing any questions or comments that you have with the group. But most importantly, like Angie said, let's all participate. It's a lot more interesting when we have a good level of participation. So you don't have to hear me talk for the next hour and a half, right? So please don't be shy. I always say there are no bad questions, and let's start. So first of all, we want to acknowledge our funder. So what's a funder? Funder is someone who gives us money. It could be a corporation or a government agency who gives us money to be able to do what we do free of charge. So in this case, for today's presentation, it's the Ontario Trillium Foundation that has given us a grant to provide this new series of workshops. So we thank the Ontario Trillium Foundation for their support. Next, I'm sure you've seen this before, we always do what we call a land acknowledgement, right? So OCLF acknowledges that our offices are located here in Ottawa and are located on the traditional unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Anishinaabe Algonquin people. The Algonquin people have inhabited and cared for these lands long before today. So we simply like to take this time to show our gratitude and respect to them and to the land for all that provides us with trees that give us shade, water and food that sustain us, and paths that connect us all. So again, we'd like to thank our First Nations for having taken care of these lands long before anyone arrived, before we arrived, the settlers from Europe or whatever. The Algonquin people, the First Nations, were on these lands long before we ever arrived, and just want to acknowledge their presence and their thanks. So the map for the next 90 minutes. So we'll talk about the real cost of living in Ottawa, picking a budgeting framework that works for you, to be able to track your expenses without giving up, without burning out on that, because it can be maybe a little tedious, maybe. So look at tracking without giving up. We wanted to look at planning for the costs that nobody warns you about, right? Those hidden costs that surprise us every now and then. We want to match spending to your values. And then we're going to talk about what we call the long arc, the cushion, the home, and the retirement, right? So we'll talk about that in detail in a few moments. And we'll talk about you creating your own 30-day plan. So 47%, I'll throw a few, this is, I think, one of the few stats we have, so don't worry. So 47% of working Canadians say they live paycheck to paycheck. And it's rare that people don't know how to budget. They know how to budget, but again, life in Canada in 2026 has a lot of components, have a lot of moving parts than the basic framework. For example, rents increase, the transmission on your car can break down, dental bills arrive, weddings, again, too. So today is talking about getting ahead of that. So the basic.
Sorry to interrupt, Peter. Do you know Greg LaMarche?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Welcome, Greg.
Sure.
Yeah, he's.
Hi, Greg.
Hi, Greg. Greg is our director on that. So this is a new presentation. So he'd just like to sit in and observe it.
Hi, Angie. Yes, I'm the executive director for OCLF. So just observe.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I was just checking. And I'll let you know that Sue Boudreau is joining us to see the presentation.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right.
Great,
Sorry.
great. So again, the basics are not wrong, right? They're just enough. So we need to maybe do a better job of when it comes to budgeting. So your typical month, right? So this is where I'm going to ask the group to share their thoughts. So in a typical month, think about the 5 biggest things that you spend your money on last month. I'm not talking about your rent or your mortgage because that's a given, right? That's mandatory, right? So think about the 5 biggest things you spent your money on last month and maybe share those in the chat, and Sarah will share your thoughts and your comments with that. Perfect. So think about the 5 biggest things you spent your money on last month. Or if you want, you can shout them out as well. So either you can unmute your microphone, share, or just type those expenses in the chat. So thinking about the 5 biggest things you spent money on last month.
Car tires.
Okay, yes.
This is Angie, the teacher, of course.
Other stuff, think about the big ticket items you spent last month.
You see, I'm not the only one. I don't have my second screen on, so I can't really see the actual chat. So Sarah is going to share with us what you type in the chat. Anything else?
Groceries, little entertainment, groceries, and driving test, practical, like preparation, summer clothes, home furniture.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah.
Okay. I think I want all of them. Transportation.
Yeah. Especially transportation today, right? With the price of gas too, right? So yeah, that has to be
Travel ticket.
Today. Oh, wow. Great. So those are great things. And those are 5 large items that we tend to spend our money on. So what we'll do today, we'll walk you through a budget plan that fits Ottawa, right? So your goal is to build your family plan based on real rent, real transit costs, and real groceries here in Ottawa, okay? The second part, we're going to be finding a tracking habit that sticks, right? Because often we'll find a tracking app or whatever, and we kind of use it for a little while, and then we just stop using it, right? But we want to find a tracking app for budgeting that you will stick with, right? You won't give up after a week or a month or whatever. So most budgets quit at week 2. So hopefully we'll pick a method that we'll use for months from now on. And we also want to plan for lumpy costs. Those are those costs that, they hit us. We try to plan for them, but it's not always easy. So example, lumpy costs. We use the term lumpy costs. For example, winter tires, right? Or your dentists or gifts. Kids' summer camps, that's a big one, right? It's not an emergency expense, but it's an expense that hits you down the road. So these costs that can quietly really ruin or wreck your monthly budget. And the fourth part is one real move on a long-term goal. So a long-term goal could be setting up an emergency fund, a first home savings account, which I'll talk about later, paying down debt, So again, step 4 would be to plan and take on one real long-term goal. So the cost of living here in Ottawa. So these are monthly average figures that were taken in late 2025. So some of this information you may already know. A bachelor apartment is $1,550 a month. A 1-bedroom is $1,950 a month. A 2-bedroom, $2,400, right? So the fact is that rents in Ottawa are definitely expensive. And then onto your living figures, you need to add hydro, right? So the average cost for a 1-bedroom apartment is between $90 and $130 a month for hydro. And then today, who can live without internet, right? I know I cannot on that. So internet today seems to be almost an essential need. So internet, depending on your plan, anywhere between $70 to $90 a month. And then you add your OC Transpo Pass, $135. It could be less, $60 if you qualify. And then the other big ticket, groceries, right? Someone mentioned that in the chat, right? The 5 biggest expenses that you incurred last month, right? So groceries, that's a big one. And that's for a single person, right? $350 to $450. A phone plan and your cell phone. Tenant insurance. So if you're renting an apartment, it's most probable that your landlord will insist that you have rental insurance, or what we call tenant insurance. So again, these are some of the basic costs that everyone will face in living here in Ottawa. So where does your money go, right? So this is an example. So the example is we're assuming this individual earns $65,000 in salary, in gross salary every year. So $65,000 in salary, that's before taxes, right? So income taxes, your pension plan deductions, your employment insurance, et cetera, right? So, but net, your take-home pay would be, based on this example, would be $4,200 for a typical month. Okay. So from that $4,200, so your take-home pay is $4,200. And your rent is $1,950. So your rent alone is a big portion, right? It's 46%, right? And it could be even higher. Could be even up to maybe 50 or 60%. So rent is a big component. So in this example here, we're using what we saw, $1,950 for the rent. Then you have your groceries, your food, your transportation, your utilities. Going out, going out maybe to dinner every now and then, or catching a movie at the theater. So again, going out, that's an expense. Your savings and debt payments, right? So if you have let's say a car loan or credit card, there are payments that need to be made. And also as part of your expenses, you should have a savings component, money you're putting aside, right? So on that. So with this example here, after all this stuff, there is a buffer or a surplus of $400 at the end of the month. So it's not a lot. It's still money that is still left over. And again, we do have money set aside for savings and debt repayment. So 3 kinds of expenses, right? And most of the budgets, most of the software that exist, they really plan for the first 2. So the first one, fixed expenses, which is the same amount of money that you pay every month, right? And those are easy to plan for, right? For example, your rent or your mortgage payment, your phone, your internet, again, your rental insurance for your apartment, or if you have a car, your car insurance, your streaming subscriptions, right? Your gym memberships, minimum debt payment. So these are examples of what we call fixed expenses because they're the same amount every month and they're kind of easy to plan for. The next category is what we call the variable. So they happen every month, but the amount can change, right? Your groceries, right? Your grocery bill can change from one month to the next, depending on what you need, what's on sale, what's in season. So again, your grocery bill can fluctuate. Gas and transit coverages, right? So if you have your monthly pass, well, that's a fixed expense. But if you have a car, just look at what's happening with gas prices, right? Every week, the price of gas is going up, right? So the cost of operating your vehicle is increasing, right? So that's a variable cost. Depending if you go to restaurants, how often you go to restaurants, or you order takeout, going out, entertainment, personal care, example, personal care, getting my haircut, getting your nails done, going to a beauty salon, going to a massage therapist. So these are personal care expenses that can definitely fluctuate from one month to another. And hydro is seasonal, right? Unless you go with an equal payment plan, right? So you get your hydro bill every month, and it can fluctuate, of course, maybe more in the wintertime, and then it fluctuates into the spring and the summertime. If you have air conditioning, your hydro bill will go up. A little tip on this one here, with hydro, you can go on an equal payment plan, which becomes more like a fixed expense. So if you're not on a equal payment plan, yes, your hydro is a variable expense. And the third category is what we call the periodic and unexpected, right? So they're not monthly, but they're really going to happen. So again, if you drive a car, you are going to need winter tires and tire storage, right? So it's not a monthly expense, but it is expected. It is periodic, so we need to plan for that. The oil change on your car, right? Or if you have a dental appointment, or you need glasses, or if you have a pet, if you have a veterinarian and your pet needs, a checkup or medication or whatever, that is also an expense you need to plan for. Holiday gifts, right? So if the holidays are coming, and depending on how you celebrate the season, planning for holiday gifts, a wedding, right? A big one, kids' summer camps, right? You know it's coming, and it's probably a big expense, right? So again, so planning for that is really beneficial. Annual subscriptions, right? So if you have subscriptions, usually you have to pay an annual fee for a subscription. So those fees, those subscriptions come due once a year. And of course, they have to be paid for. So planning for them is really helpful. So here we're talking about the 50, 30, 20% framework. And again, it's really good way to start. So the way to look at it is that 50% of your take-home pay is based on needs. Your rent, your groceries, your utilities, your transit, and your minimum debt payments, right? So those are, let's say, the needs. Those have to be taken care of out of your take-home pay. The next 30% is more what we call variable, right? So their wants, it's eating out, it's your streaming services, it's your hobbies, it's your clothes on that. So that is what we call the 30%, and that is really on wants, things that you would like. And the last 20% is what we call save and pay down. So we'll talk about the emergency sinking fund in a minute. So we talk about saving money aside for two reasons. to pay down debt, which is really important. And I'm not talking about necessarily the minimum payment. I'm talking about really paying down your debt, right? Because if you only pay the minimum payment, let's say on a credit card, it can take you a very long time. In one of our presentations, we looked at an example whereby if you owed $1,000 on a credit card and you did the minimum payment of 2%, it would take you 9 years to pay it back, right? So here we're talking about really paying down your debt as much as you can. So that 20% is really split between saving money, either into a savings account and or paying down your debt. So again, if we look at the bottom, based on the example we looked at, on your take-home pay, your net pay of $4,200, $2,100 would be for needs, $1,260 would be for wants, and $840 would be used to save and pay down debt. So we'll see that in a minute. So when we talk about the 50, 30, 20% framework, this is what we are talking about. So other frameworks, so that's one framework. There's other frameworks. So for people who like to control everything, there is what we call the zero-based framework, whereby every dollar gets a job even before the money hits your bank account. So again, every dollar that you spend gets assigned. And again, it's really for people who like to control every single dollar going through their account. So it provides you with the tightest control on your budget. And one tool is YNAB, which is a software which is available. It's paid software, but it's a good software for someone who wants to control every single dollar coming in and going out. The other one is another framework, other than the actual 50, 30, 20, is to pay yourself first. So this one works by setting up automatic transfers the moment your pay hits your bank account. So again, so you set up the auto transfers for certain payments automatically, and then whatever left is yours to spend. So it's an easier one because what you do, you set it up and you forget it. You don't have to think about it a lot. It has the lightest mental load. And again, the best tool for this is the banks, the auto transfers. So you can transfer money automatically from your bank account into your high interest savings account. That's another acronym, high interest savings account. So you can set this up automatically whereby you pay yourself first, money hits your bank account from your paycheck, and automatically it will be transferred into your high interest savings account. For this one, I guess it works for some people, the people who really overspend, who really can't, control their desires or whatever, or their spending habits. It's called the envelope cash stuffing, whereby you set amounts into different categories. Like, for example, money going for personal care, or money going out for dinner or entertainment, right? So you would have these envelopes and you would put specific cash in each of those envelopes for those specific categories. And when you would go out, you would use that money from the envelope. And what happens when there's no more money in the envelope? Well, that's it. You'll have to curtail that expense for that month on that. So again, it's another way. It's more of a manual way of doing it. It really puts a hard stop on weak spots because, like I said, if you have the envelope or the cash stuffing method, once that money in that envelope is gone and you spend it all, well, that's it for that category. And you should not be cheating and taking money out of one of the other envelopes that you did, right? So once that category is gone, that would be a hard stop to do that. So, and again, the tool to match, Coho is another software that is available. Okay, so picking a framework that works, right? So you want to pick a framework that works for you, that you're going to stick with it, right? And you want to match it to who you are and not who you wish you were, right? It's as of today, who you actually are. So again, if this sounds like you, if you love spreadsheets and you want to know where every dollar went, well, again, zero-based using Excel, applications whereby every single dollar is controlled and tracked and monitored. I always forget to track. I just want it to happen. Well, I mentioned earlier the automatic transfers, right? Whereby you'll set that up with your bank and you'll set up transfers automatically every month or every payday, whereby money is taken out and put into your savings account. I overspend on specific things like takeout and online shopping. Again, the envelope method or digital cash is another way of tracking it. We talked about the 50, 30, 20. This is new, but again, you want to have kind of, let's say, a target or what they call sensible defaults. And again, this depends on the individual. If my income changes from month to month, and that can happen, right? If you're working part-time and your hours can fluctuate from 1 week to the next or 1 month to the next, or if you're getting, a commission, or if you're working from home, well, again, that's a little more difficult. But again, in that case, you should use the zero-based method based on your lowest month of income. Okay. And again, choosing one of these doesn't mean you need to stick with it. You might choose one framework, and after a while, you want to maybe go through another framework, which as you become more comfortable with budgeting, you maybe want to pick another framework that maybe works better for you. So again, choosing one of these frameworks to start, but knowing that you don't have to stay with it, you can change it as you get more comfortable with budgeting. So a budget that you don't track is just a wish list, right? You could have the nicest budget, the most detailed budget there is out there. But if you don't track it, it's just a wish, right? So I can do this nice budget. I wish I had this, I'm going to put money aside for a trip, money aside for a wedding or whatever. Beautiful budget. But if you don't track it and you don't track your spending, well, how do you know it's going to happen, right? So it becomes maybe a wish. So the tracking is really important. The framework matters less than whether you track. So what we suggest is that you choose an application, a software, and do it intensively for 2 or 3 months, long enough for you to learn your actual numbers, right? And then after that, it becomes just maintenance, whereby you would just tweak your budget, right? So 2 or 3 months, that's a commitment. We ask that when you do set up your budget, stick with it for 2 or 3 months. Again, track it, follow it intensively, know where your money is going, know what's left over. And after that, you just need to maybe make a few adjustments, right? If you get a promotion or you get a salary increase, then it's just a matter of tweaking it or just making just a small adjustment. So these are some of the tools that work in Canada. There used to be what we call Mint Mobile. Mint is gone. It's been replaced by Monarch. So there's YNAB, which is a paid software. It's really what they call the gold standard, like a really top-notch, one of the best softwares for tracking zero-based budgeting. On that, then we have Monarch, which used to be again Mint Mobile. Again, it's great for couples sharing a budget. So if there's more than one person in the household, Monarch is a good one, and because this way the two couples can share the same budget, which makes sense, right? You have Coho, which has spending categories baked in. So again, we talked about, if you want to save in certain categories for vacations, weddings, or whatever, it has certain specific categories that are baked in. Well Simple, which is another one really well known on that. Great software, great company. Their software is free if you bank with them already, because they are like a bank on that. So Well Simple, if you have a bank account with them or an account with them, their software is free. If not, there would be a fee. Google spreadsheets, right? Infinite flexibility. You build your own spreadsheet and you learn the most. Notion, this one I'm not familiar with. People who track everything else in Notion already, not familiar with that one. We talked about the envelopes, right? Physical cash in physical envelopes. It's old school, old style, but it works, right, on that. If you're a person who has maybe difficulty controlling certain expenses or whatever, the envelope system will work fine. And last but not least, the tied and true paper journal, meaning you can track everything manually, right? So, which is very, very tedious on that. One thing that I'll mention too is that all banks offer budgeting software and tracking software, which is kind of cool on that. So it's attached with your debit card and your credit card. So as you make a purchase, it tracks your spending and also breaks it down into different categories as well too. So I have that app as well too, because I just like to, if my purchase is made, it just pings to my phone and goes into my monthly budget as well too. So that's one thing that you could consider as well too. Most banks offer a nice budgeting software as well. So there's no best tool. You choose a tool that suits you the best and one that you'll hopefully be able to stick with. I'm just checking my time. Okay, not too bad.
It's 1:27, so it should be fine.
Exactly, thank you. All right. So question to the group. Again, in the chat, how do you track today? You track every expense in an application, or B, you use a spreadsheet and you update it sometimes. C, I track by checking my bank balance and hopefully it's okay. Or D, I do not track at all. So for the participants, can you put A, B, C, or D in the chat so I get an idea of what people are doing as we speak? So A, B, C, or D. Just type in the letter. Any answers coming in, Sarah?
Not really. No, everything is.
All right. Don't be sure. It's not a judgment, and we're just curious to see exactly, how are you tracking? If you're tracking, it's okay. If you're not
yes, yeah. A lot of people has chosen C.
Okay.
Mostly I see. So C, B, C, C, D, C, C, D, C, B, B. Sorry, all of them just appeared in my chart all of a sudden. I don't know why. And also I see 2 B's.
Perfect. Okay, so exactly. So again, most people are C and D's on that. And it's not a comment. It's just because we're not maybe familiar with, number one, the importance of budgeting, and number two, the tools that are available to make that job easier, right? So yeah, C and D historically are the most common ones.
And Peter, should I also make a confession?
Yes.
I'm also, most of the time, I do C.
Okay.
I'm a kind of pray and hope type.
Yeah. And a lot of people, and I remember when I graduated from school and everything, believe me, it was definitely C, 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 right? I need to make sure that as I graduated and I wasn't earning a lot of money, that I had enough money to pay for rent. The food was optional, but my transportation and all that stuff. So yeah, so it depends where you are in that. So yeah, so C is, and even today too, I'll share with you my daily routine is I track I have my applications that I track too, but also is part of my daily routine. When I get up in the morning, I have my coffee, I read my emails, I watch CNN, I look at my Facebook, and then I quickly click into my online banking account just to see what went through. I know what's going through, but I just like to see it on a regular basis. So you might laugh. I do that daily. It's part of my routine with my coffee. It takes me like 1 minute, and it just reconfirms that everything in my budget is going as planned. So on that. So that's my share with you folks. All right. So we are going to talk about what are sinking funds, right? So sinking funds, they're a small amount that we set aside for a known future expense. So it's not like an emergency expense. The other day I was leaving the house to teach with the city of Ottawa, and I had a flat tire. So that's definitely unexpected. I had to order a tow truck. The car had to be towed. I had to get a new tire, and it cost me quite a bit of money. But again, too, that is what we call an emergency expense. It's not an expense that you can plan for. A sinking fund is a known future expense. So it's not an emergency fund because emergencies are unknown. Like when I left the house and I got into my car, I was shocked to see I had a flat tire. So sinking funds are things that you know are coming, but you haven't paid for them yet. So they turn on, how am I going to find that $900 for winter tires that I need in November, right? On that. So again, so a tiny example is, for example, a sinking fund. If you have a car and you need to buy winter tires and storage, that will definitely cost you $900 a year, at least. And if you divide that by 12 months, it's $75. So a lot of people would set up a sinking fund for that purchase, whereby they would put $75 aside every month to pay for those winter tires. So that's what we call a sinking fund. Okay, so it's an expected expense. You know it's going to happen. You haven't paid for it yet, but it's coming. So sinking fund, other examples of sinking: winter tires, your car maintenance, right? Oil, brakes, brakes are expensive, right? So you might want to do a $35 sinking fund for car maintenance, because you have to do your oil change, at least twice a year. You might need a brake job, and then dentists and glasses, assuming you don't have benefits with your employer. So if you need dental work or you need glasses, you want to maybe set up a sinking fund of $40 a month. These are just rough examples. Holiday gifts and birthdays. Summer camps, so that's a big one, right? So summer camps and activities, you know it's coming, so you want to try to plan for it and put...
Sorry, Peter. Sorry for interrupting you. I see Saba has raised her hand.
Go ahead.
Yeah, Saba, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just want to ask about this sinking fund.
Yes.
Like, is when you are putting it together, is it in the bank or in the special?
Great question. So really good question. So the answer would be yes and yes. Yes, it should be part of your budget, but to make it happen, for these sinking funds, you would normally speak with your bank, and you would set up an automatic transfer automatically. It's free, there's no charge. So this way you don't have to worry about physically transferring, let's say $75 for tires into the account. You would set up an automatic transfer that would take place every single month. That would happen automatically. You don't have to worry about it. And at the end of the year, you would have the money accumulated for the tire. So yes, two parts. It should be part of your budget, but to make it happen and to make sure it happens, let's say, promptly and accurately, you would also set up that transfer with your bank. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so it ends anytime you want, the sinking
Yes,
fund.
exactly. Yes. You can set up your automatic transfer with your bank. You can do it every payday. You could do it on the 15th of the month. You could do it once a month. You can choose a day of the week or whatever. You choose the amount. You choose out of what account they're going to get that money, and you're going to tell them, we'll put it into my high interest savings account. So yes, so you choose the amount, the time, the frequency. You could do it if you get paid every 2 weeks, you can have it done every 2 weeks. So if you're paid weekly, it can be done weekly. So you have all those options that you'll decide with your bank once you set up the automatic transfer.
Thank you.
My pleasure. So summer camps, that's a big one. Annual subscriptions, right? So if you have a subscription to a magazine or whatever, these come due once a year. So you want to maybe plan for those. If you need to travel, family visits, for example, I'm not talking about necessarily vacations here. If you want to plan a trip to visit your family, so you want to plan for that. Veterinarian, pet emergencies. Yeah. So again, these are examples of what we call a sinking fund. It's costs that you know they're going to happen, and you want to plan for them, and you want to have the money set aside when these costs happen, right? So it makes sense to think about setting up a sinking fund for certain expenses. Here we talk about, I remember too, they always, even when I was working in the bank, they always said, you need a 3 month cushion, right? 3 months of money set aside for like you lose your job, right? So on that. So if you lose your job tomorrow, the theory is that in practice, we should have a cushion of 3 months. Now, I know when I first started with the bank, I did not have a cushion for 3 months. I had to work at it, and it happened over time. It doesn't happen overnight. So again, here's an example. So 3 months cushion would be 3 months of your rent. It would be 3 months of your groceries, 3 months of your transportation, 3 months of your utility bill, your insurance, and your payments. So it would be 3 months of that. So looking at these numbers, so per month, 1 month would be $2,765. The recommended cushion is to have $8,300. I know that looks enormous, right, on that. And I know when I first started, it took me a long time to have a 3 month cushion. It didn't happen the first week, I can guarantee you. It took me a long time to get my cushion set up. But the idea is to know what we're talking about when we talk about that 3 month cushion, and how do we get there, right, on that. Did someone have a question? I thought I heard.
Yes, it is Pauline.
Go ahead, Colin.
Thank you for giving me a time.
Sure, go ahead.
But for this, for nowadays, these 3 months are not enough. Maybe it could be even 6 months or more, because for now it's not not a good answer.
I understand exactly what you're saying, right, on that. And it depends on the actual situation, right? But I guess what the point they're making here is that this is a situation that if you have a job, if you have working, and you're earning your salary, your income, and your expenses. So this is more about really having that cushion. So because they're talking about if you lose your job tomorrow. So this example here is assuming you have a job right now, you're earning a regular salary every week, every 2 weeks, right? And you're working, you have your job, you've been working for 1 or 2 years or whatever, and all of a sudden you lose your job. Right. So this is where this example comes in. It talks about that 3 months cushion to help you at least for 3 months, because if you lose your job, you won't have any income, right? So this is where the idea of the 3 months cushion comes in, that if you're employed and all of a sudden you lose your job, the idea is to have a 3 months cushion to help you for that period, because during that 3 months, you'll be looking for another job, or you might have, let's say, some sort of, income replacement. But the idea here is that if you're working and you have a job and then all of a sudden you lose your job, to have that little cushion for 3 months to help you get at least through that 3-month period until you can get back on your feet. So if you're not working, it's different. But again, the idea is the same though. We should know what you need in terms of a monthly cushion, right? Because this is just for a 3-month period. It's not for a year or 6 months, right? It's really for a short period of time until that person can get back on their feet. Does that clarify?
Yes, I understand. But what I mean now is not easy, because even you can look for a job. If you lose a job now, you can look for a job for more than 1 year.
Yes, I understand your point perfectly. That makes perfect sense on that. Yes, because to work, so maybe the next slide we'll talk about more about that cushion. So for that cushion, we're looking at, how do you build that cushion? And yes, if you're looking for a job or whatever, yes, I agree. That cushion is not there, and it's going to be difficult. I agree with you 100%. It will be difficult to build that cushion. It might take a year or 2 years. I agree totally on that, because again, if our income is very low and we need to cover the basics, building that cushion at this point in time, it is a challenge. It is difficult, but we have to keep in mind that today we're talking about the longer term, right? We're talking about today, but in a year or 2 years from now, a person's financial situation may be very different, which means the opportunity to build that cushion will be easier. But yes, I agree with you. If we have, let's say, low income right now, to build that cushion is not easy. I totally agree with that. But the idea is to think longer term. Today, it's not possible. In a year from now, let me look at that again and let me see if that's possible. Does that make sense? All right.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So again, this is an example here. Again, we talked about the actual cushion earlier, right? So again, like even myself, building 3 months cushion when I first started working was not possible. It did not happen probably for a year or two until I was able to save some money. So again, you have to break it down and make it manageable, right? So if you did $50 a week, for 1 year, that would be $2,600. So if you did that, when you're ready to do that, the first year, if you put $50 a week aside, it would be $2,600. And then the second year, you would do the same thing. You would do $50 a week, and then you would be $5,200. And the third year, $8,300. So the idea we want to show here is that cushion, that doesn't happen automatically. And it takes some work to get there. Absolutely. I understand that. The idea is to know really what is your 3 month cushion that you need, break it down into a small amount, which is manageable. And then over time, in this case here, it'll take 3 years to build your cushion, right? But the idea is to know what your cushion is and to start working at it. And if starting to build that cushion is not possible right now, that's okay. But review that in a year from now and see when you can start building that cushion for you. So a budget that doesn't match what you care about won't survive contact with real life. So again, you want to be careful. You want to aggressively cut into the categories that don't bring you a lot of happiness or joy, right? So you can keep spending on the ones that do, the ones that really make you happy, that bring you satisfaction, right? The expenses that don't really bring much to you, Well, those are the ones that you can probably cut easier. It's not what the internet says you should care about. It's not what your parents care about. It's what you actually care about, right? So again, frugality without values is just deprivation, right? So again, focus on the thing that you really care about that can really, again, make your life better and happier. So again, keep in mind that cut the categories that don't really bring you a lot of happiness or joy, right? So just think about things that bring you, that make your life, let's say, better. Cut without flinching. Okay, so cut without flinching. So these are quiet leaks. Okay, these are leaks, money that disappears from our account, and we don't really notice it, right? So the question is whether they're worth their cost to you. All right. So subscriptions. This is a big one that subscriptions you forgot about. Open your last credit card statement and circle every recurring charge and cancel the subscriptions that you don't even need. Even myself too, I get the charge of my credit card. I said, what are all these subscriptions and things, Amazon Prime, Amazon Video, PBS, Duolingo, like, oh my goodness. So there are small amounts that we say, oh, it's not a big amount, it's only $5 or $10, right? But they add up, right? So check to see your subscriptions. And again, the ones that you don't really need, that don't bring you happiness, that don't bring you value, again, you should cancel them. The other, take out when you're tired, right? We're back home from a day's work and everything too. And we maybe say, I'll order takeout tonight or whatever. But it does add up, right? There's a $20 takeout for the food, the $5 delivery fee. Of course, there's a tip, the service. So it's $32 for that takeout, right? So just be careful because that's a big expense that, we can control on that. And what is it worth to you, right? I like this one, the impulse online impulse online orders. Sorry. So I like this one because we all shop online and we see something we like and easy to click buy, right? But I like this. It's a 48-hour rule. If you saw something and 48 hours later, you still want it on day 3, well, okay. But most of the time, after a day or two, your desire to purchase that item will probably no longer be there, right? So be careful with those impulse purchases because they're really good for the advertisers, the marketing to really get you to buy in and purchase the item, right? So you want to be careful with that, right? So impulse buying is the worst one. You're in the grocery store or you're online shopping and you see something and the advertising is so good, it's interesting too, and it doesn't look that expensive or whatever. But I like this. Wait 48 hours. If on the 3rd day you still feel you need it, well then buy it. If not, that means something that you did not spend your money on. And lifestyle creep. So every raise you get, because hopefully, I know a lot of you folks are looking for employment too. So when you get a job, and if you're with your job for a period of time, you will most likely get an increase, a pay increase too. So again, as your pay increases, direct that increase maybe to your savings even before it hits your checking account, right? So if your salary is increasing and you get a nice pay raise, think about that extra money. Think about putting that money aside, either as a savings account or to pay down debt. Okay, so remember, subscriptions, check your subscriptions. I know I checked about a month ago and I canceled a few because again, they just slip in and you forget about them, right? So, and sometimes you don't even use the actual service, right? Takeout, because that's also expensive. Impulse buying online, that's one where a lot of people get caught, and the lifestyle creep. Did someone have a question, Sarah?
No, there's nothing in that chat either.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, three things. Okay, here's to the group. Okay, the first part, three things that you would never cut. So I'm not talking about your rent, because that's not a choice, right? So think about your budget. And the first part, I'm going to ask the group, even if you lost your job, what are three things that you would never cut? So think about stuff that we talked about earlier. And if you lost your job, what are three things that you would not cut, that would stay? Just give me one. Just give me one, because we're a big group. So just give me one thing that you would never cut.
Groceries.
That's an excellent, perfect, yes.
TV, internet, transport, insurance.
So those are all good. I like the one like TV, internet. Like, I don't know about you, I could not live without my internet. I think I would go crazy if I did not have my internet on that. So there are certain things that we would need to keep. Like, even if I lost my job, I would need to keep my internet, or again, to my bus pass. Those are things that I would need to keep. Perfect. The second part, it's the opposite. If I had to free up, so I had my budget and I had to cut $200 from my budget, what would I cut? What would be the first one that I would cut? So it's the opposite. The other one is, which ones would I keep? This is the opposite. If I had to save, or I had to free up $200 in my monthly budget, which ones would I be able to cut first? So just give me one thing that you would probably cut.
Can I say something? My online shopping. Yeah. You know, my online shopping, Peter. Of course, I have stopped that, but you know, like now, I mean, in the past, it used to reach to a level that I even didn't have physical space in my closet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, it just gets out of your hand if you don't control it. And then I just stopped. I removed my credit card information from all of my laptops.
Yes.
I deleted every account on any website that I had.
Nice.
Yeah, it seems that's the only way. And then the relief that has come with it, and the amount of money that stays in my account is just unbelievable.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks. Yeah, that gets out of control. The online shopping, they're so good. They make it so inviting and easy. And, you know, that's like do I actually need it, right? So the question is, like, do I actually need it, right? And we saw earlier, if you saw something on the internet, well, wait 48 hours, right? Because then you say, well, do I really need it? Do I really need to spend that $40 or $50, right? So exactly on that. The internet would be a big one that would be cut. The other one that I saw as well too was the takeout, like ordering the meals and everything, because that's something that I know it's nice to have every now and then. But if you need to cut expenses, well, that's one that we see quite often on that. So on that, was there anyone who shared in their in the chat? Nope. Okay, well, let's continue. Okay, so we're talking about short-term, medium-term, long-term goals. So short-term goals are under 1 year, right? So we talk about the emergency fund, right? So having maybe money set aside for that emergency, again, it's not foreseeable. We don't know what's going to happen. It's a surprise. It's usually not a good surprise, but again, that's why, again, maybe have money set up for an emergency fund, money for vacation, a course or certification, needing a new laptop. So for example, this laptop is giving me trouble. I think I'll need to get it replaced in the next 6 months or a year. So those are what we call short-term goals. They're goals that happen that you need under 1 year. The medium-term goals are 1 to 5 years, and it's for the down payment for your home, a car, maybe not buying the whole car, but maybe the down payment for a car, planning for a wedding, or going back to school, right? So those are medium goals that, you know what, as you're working right now, you want to think, okay, in 2 years' time, I want to save enough money for a down payment on a car, right? And then the longer term goals, right? And sometimes it's hard to think of longer term goals when we're just starting out, where our income is maybe not very high. But long term goals, something we all need to think about is one day we all want to retire, right? Your children's education, right? The registered education savings plan, paying off your mortgage, and also having financial independence. So these give you an idea between the short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals, okay? And again, so again, at the bottom, we say for short-term, you want to keep it into a high-interest savings account. 1 to 5 years, probably a first home savings account, tax-free savings account, a GIC. What's a GIC? It's a guaranteed investment certificate or a term deposit. And then longer term, well, you're going to be looking into an RRSP, a TFSA, or ETFs. So on that. So, but again, you want to make sure that if you're putting money aside, when you get into the medium and long-term goals, you want that money to work for you. You don't leave that money in a checking account, right? You want your savings to work for you. You want your savings to grow. Oops. Yeah, here. So again, savings for a home in Ottawa. So not great news, but the average home in Ottawa is $650,000. And here's what it looks like for a down payment. So the minimum payment is 5% if your mortgage is insured by Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation. So $40,000 for a minimum down payment. And again, if you want to skip the CMHC insurance, you have to put down $130,000. Because if your mortgage is insured by Canada Mortgage and Housing Corporation, they will charge a fee which is added onto your mortgage. So it's not free if your mortgage is insured with CMHC. But I remember my first mortgage, it was insured with CMHC because I did not have the 20% down payment. You need 3 to 4% for closing costs, which is 20 to 26%. So really, for a starter target, if you're looking at buying a home, it's really having, let's say, savings of anywhere between $50,000 to $60,000. Now, how do you make that money work? Where do you get that money? Well, the first one is one of my favorite accounts, which I think it's a great account. It's the First Home Savings Account. I think it's a great plan to save money. So with the First Home Savings Account, when the time comes, you can put up to $8,000 per year. But you don't have to put $8,000 per year. You can put $500 or $1,000, right? You put in whatever you can. But what's really nice about this plan, well, 3 things. Number one, it helps you save your down payment for your mortgage, for your house purchase. The money in the account is allowed to grow tax-free, so you don't have to pay taxes on the interest or the dividends or whatever. So the money is allowed to grow tax-free. The most important thing is it's great. The government will give you a tax deduction. So if I only put in $5,000 in 1 year, I will get a tax slip that I can reduce my income by $5,000, which means I will reduce my income tax that I need to pay. And what's great is that when the time comes to buy the house, I can withdraw the money from the first home savings account tax-free. As long as I'm a first-time home buyer, I can withdraw the money tax-free. So the maximum you can save is up to $40,000. If you're in a household, the husband and wife can each have their own first home savings account, as long as neither of them were home buyers in the past. So in my mind, this is one of the best accounts to open up if you're really serious about looking at buying a home. Again, you save money, the interest that accumulates is tax-free, and the government gives you this tax deduction, which is fantastic. The next one is the RRSP, Registered Retirement Savings Plan. So if you have an RRSP already opened up for retirement, you can withdraw from your RRSP up to $60,000 interest-free to use as a down payment. The catch with this is that the money has to be put back into the RRSP over 15 years. So every year, you need to pay back 1/15 of the amount that you withdraw. So again, if you have money in your RRSP already that's sitting there, it's a good option on that. And the third one is just putting money into a tax-free savings account. This is like a savings account whereby the interest and the dividends and the investment income will be tax-free. So you don't get a tax deduction, but whatever amount you put in there grows tax-free, and you can withdraw at any time for whatever purpose. But again, my favorite one is the first home savings account if you are looking at buying a home and you're a first-time home buyer. So TFSA mentioned quickly, money goes in after tax, there's no deduction. Money that comes out, it's tax-free. The money, the maximum you can put it in every year is $7,000. And it's flexible, you can buy whatever investment, short-term, long-term, so it's great for your goals. The RRSP is pre-tax, so you get an income tax refund. But when you take the money out, you have to pay income tax, but hopefully at a lower rate. And it's based on 18% of last year's income. And on that note, when I first starting out, there's no way I was able to put in 18% of my income. I would put in maybe $500 or $1,000. So again, it's putting whatever amount you can into these accounts. And so those are, again, a bit different between the TFSA and the RRSP. The RRSP is really for retirement. You get a tax refund, but when you withdraw the money at retirement, you have to pay income tax, but hopefully at a lower rate. Whereas a TFSA, you just put the money in there, it grows tax-free, and you can withdraw at any time without any income taxes. All right, so this is debt versus investing. So again, do I pay my credit card or do I invest, right? So debt repayment versus investing, right? So credit card, typical rate between 20 to 24%. The stock market is only 6 to 8%. So again, easy decision. If I have extra money, I'm going to pay off my credit card, right? Because I'm only getting 6 or 8%, whereby I'm paying 24%. Line of credit, 9 to 12% of interest rate that I would pay on the line of credit. So again, I would pay that down again before investing because again, it's cost me more money. Student loan is at prime, 6 to 8%. So they're kind of equal. So again, too, you might want to, if you have some surplus money, you may want to invest in the stock market or in whatever it is, like a term deposit or a GIC, because again, the student loan rate is so low. Federal, the same thing, and a mortgage, the rates right now are between 5 to 6%. And again, the stock market is 6 to 8%, either one, but I would probably say pay down your mortgage because the idea is when you want to retire, you want to be mortgage free, right? So even though they're kind of even, whatever you prefer, but I kind of like the idea of paying down my mortgage. Canada student loans, again, the federal loans, I forgot, but the Canada student loan portion is 0% of interest, right? So again, there is, you don't pay any interest on the federal Canada student loan. You just have to make the repayment once you finished your education. And the provincial part, they still charge interest at the floating rate. It's still a good rate. But again, you would probably want to pay this back before investing in investments. So a little tips if you're struggling, which can happen. So repayment assistance plans. So again, there are companies that are there to help you with repayment assistance plans, right? So either you call your credit card company, you can call different credit consulting agencies that are here in Ottawa, that most of them are free of charge. If you have a severe permanent disability, there are benefits which are available under that program. OCLF also offers financial counseling. It's free, it's one-on-one, and it's based here in Ottawa. So again, too, if you're struggling with your debt and your repayments, these are some things that you may want to consider a repayment plan. If you're eligible for a severe disability benefit, or check out OCLF financial counseling. So again, the idea is if you're struggling, try to meet the minimums on every debt, right? Because as long as you make your minimum payment, at least your credit score, your credit bureau will not be affected. And again, it makes sense. Always pay the highest interest debt with the money that you have. And coming to an end pretty soon. Your 30-day plan, again, so we said pick one tool, right? Pick YNAB, Coho, sheet paper. And again, week one, pick your tool, log, track every expense. Track every expense, every purchase you make. So just for the first week, right, you want to be really diligent. And then week two, well, once you have all your numbers, you can categorize it, right, into fixed, variable, and periodic. So again, the 50, 30, 20, right? But before you start, you need to know where your money is going, right? So week one, track every dollar where it's going. Week two, once you have all your numbers, then you can figure out the different categories, right? And then week three, we suggest think about setting up 2 sinking funds. So remember what I said, sinking funds were expenses that are expected. They're not due right now, but they're going to hit you down the road, right? So we suggest setting up 2 sinking funds, okay? Pick ones that are always surprise you or that come up quickly. And again, you do the auto transfer weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, or whatever, right? So whatever day you get paid. And then think about when you have money that you want to put aside for savings. Think about, we talked about the first home savings account. We talked about the tax-free savings account. And we talked about the high interest savings account. So these are all accounts that will help your money grow. So if you have savings, don't leave it in your checking account because it's going to earn 0. It's probably going to lose value because we know inflation is out there. So you need your money to grow so it does not lose value. So again, so week 4, open the account. So week 1, again, to recap, watch every dollar, track every dollar so you know where every dollar is going. Week 2, then categorize your spending, build your 50, 30, 20% plan, open 2 sinking fund accounts. And week 4, think about opening up a new account for your savings. Where to go from here? So basically, we talked about Canadian, Ottawa friendly, free, and affordable. So we talked about the Ottawa Community Loan Fund, OCLF, which provides financial coaching, microloans. It's dedicated mainly with newcomer programs. It's local, it's free, and it's in person. And we provide, let's say, great service, great support to newcomers. Another great website, if you want some information, it's the Financial Consumer Agency of Canada, acronym FCAC. So it's a great website. Again, it's a government website. They have really a very good budget planner as well that is very detailed, that you can save and you can go back and change it and amend it. So the FCAC has got different calculators and step-by-step guides. So a great resource to use. Just type in FCAC in your browser and it will bring you to their website with all the information. Credit counseling, so they're nonprofit. So if you feel you're underwater, it's confidential debt and budgeting help across Canada. Wealthsimple, we talked about Wealthsimple. It's a plain language articles. It's Canadian specific. It's free and no account is required for their articles. If you want to use their software, there could be a charge, but for their articles, they are free. I missed subreddit. Again, it's Canadian only, no US information. Is great for specific questions, if you have specific questions. Also, Prosper Canada. It's a national charity focused on financial empowerment for lower income Canadians. And these tools are free on that. So another one that we don't mention is the CRA. If you're not sure about if you're eligible or your amounts to put into a TFSA or whatever, you can check with your bank. Your financial advisor will definitely be able to help you. But you can also contact the CRA. They're a great resource. They will tell you exactly what you're able to do to make sure. If you're not sure and you don't want to make a mistake, check with the CRA. They will be able to answer any questions you have regarding income tax questions, whether you're eligible to make these deductions or not. Or with your bank, your financial advisor is also an awesome resource to use. So tomorrow morning, 3 small things we ask you to do. So today's workshop, it only counts if you do them, right? So number 1, tomorrow, open your banking account, right? Write down what's in your checking account and what came out last month. So again, like checking everything going in, going out, so you track what's there. Number 2, install one budgeting tool. KNAB, Coho, a blank Google spreadsheet. Again, I said FCAC has an awesome budgeting tool as well, which is free, which is super detailed, which is great. Doesn't matter which one, just install a budgeting tool. And then number 3, set up one auto transfer. So again, we're going back to our sinking fund, right? So set up one automatic transfer. Can be like just $20 a week, which will give you, let's say, almost $1,000 at the end of the year. Whatever amount works for you, right? It's what you're comfortable with. And again, set it up weekly, bi-weekly, monthly to match your pay stub, your paychecks, everything like that. So 3 things. Open up your banking app, and hopefully most of you have banking apps. They're free, they're easy to use, and they're really, really, I think, helpful. Install one tool that we discussed today. Install one budgeting tool. And number 3, set up one auto transfer to set up money for a sinking fund. So that brings us to the end of the session. So, wow, we went through that, but I'll have time at the end to answer some questions. For now, we would like you to complete our surveys. So the surveys are very important to us. Your feedback helps us revisit, create new workshops. So your feedback is important. So 2 ways. Sarah is going to put the link for the Survey Monkey.
I already did, Peter.
Oh, Sarah, you're so good. Thank you. And if you prefer, you can use the QR code. So you can use your device and take a picture, and that will bring you directly into the SurveyMonkey. So I'm going to give you folks maybe 1 minute. I will come back. I won't leave you. I'll come back, and any questions you have, I'll be happy to answer. So just take 1 minute right now. I think there's only 5 or 6 questions on the survey. So I'll give you 1 minute to fill that out, and I will stop sharing in a minute, and then I can take any questions that you may have.
Just want to take information. I don't know if you have it, but you are talking about mortgage, right?
Yes.
Mortgage. So if someone has a mortgage for a house, and suddenly he lost job or he can't make the payment, is there any way that they can arrange?
Yes, because life happens, and again, being a bank manager, I've encountered some of my customers who've had that situation, right? So, yes, if you lose your job or whatever, there is a way. You can skip some mortgage payments. So again, if you've had your mortgage for a certain period of time, you can skip a number of mortgage payments until you can get back onto your feet. So yes, that is a possibility. I think most banks offer that feature whereby we can, and again, it doesn't have to be for losing a job. If you have an unexpected expense or whatever, right, you can skip 1, 2, or 3 payments depending on how long you've had your mortgage. So yes, you can definitely skip mortgage payments, Saba. That is a possibility.
Oh, okay.
Good question. Anything else? So I realize, and again too, I relate to how I was when I graduated from school, right? I graduated from school. My parents didn't have a lot of money, so I had a lot of student loans. So for many years, saving money was not really an option because, again, I had to pay my student loans, I had to pay my apartment. So everything, though, kind of comes into its own course, right? So initially, maybe now, the savings plan, the sinking fund might not be feasible right now, or like someone mentioned, that 3 months cushion, totally understandable. But things change, and you know what? Over time, your income will increase, and again, you will have that opportunity to start saving money. And it's whatever amount you can save. Because I remember when I was putting money into the RRSP, I think the maximum contribution was $10,000. Well, I can only put in $500. But that $500 made a difference over time, right? So don't be discouraged. The idea. Today's notion is to track your spending. First of all, track your spending, know where your money is going, see what's left over, and from then decide, on your plan. Do you want to plan for savings, or do you want to reduce your debt? But again, it's one step at a time, and we know that with newcomers, the income is not really what you would like it to be, or you're looking for a job. things will change, and you have to think about your situation down the road. So don't get discouraged. Again, but I guess what I'm trying to say is the budgeting piece is important on that. So at least knowing where your money is going, where you're spending your money, and where you can save your money. So any other questions before we wrap up? No? Well, all right then. Well, thank you for having us. Hopefully today you're leaving with some information that you did not previously have. And again, we gave you a lot of resources that you can use. So again, don't hesitate to use the resources that we provided you with today. So on that note, thank you, Angie, for having us. Hopefully this group will have found this beneficial.
Yes, thank you very much, Peter.
And we didn't run over. I guess I spoke quickly. Hopefully I didn't speak too quickly, but on that. So anyway, we got in on time. Thank you, Sarah, and thank you, everyone.
No problem. It was my pleasure. Thanks, Angie, and thanks everyone who attended.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're very welcome. As always, it was our pleasure to be here.
Yeah.
Peter, thank you very much. I learned a lot from you too.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, Angie.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
We'll see you soon. Bye.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye, Angie.
Bye-bye. Okay, I sent you a form about the courses for the fall to ask you what you're interested in taking. Remember, it's not a registration form, and you can pick one class. If you're not returning, then just choose that option that you're not returning, and then you don't have to worry about the classes. I think I gave you an option for maybe also, so if you weren't sure. And if you want to change your time, I've put a list of the different times of other classes that are available. So the Get Set link is in the form, so you can look and see what courses I'm talking about, the Get Set list. And you should complete this at least by Friday because I need it for next week. Okay? So only fill out the form once and only choose one class. Yes, Pauline?
Yes, teacher. I have already completed the form, but I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Like in the first, there's many options. Sometimes they say you need the English, maybe morning, afternoon. They ask again if you can follow another training like healthcare and whatever. And they say you want to study in English, and they give different options. Mm-hmm. My problem is if I choose like 2 or 3.
No, you can't choose 2 or 3.
And there is the same schedule. What will be happening?
You can only choose one, Pauline, because you can only have one class. So if you choose something and your schedule changes, when they send you the registration information in August, you can call the office and change.
But sometimes there is no specific information.
No, because ESL, there are ESL classes like this one that are all skills. I put that in there. And then there are a couple of others that I'm not sure about, but I put them in and that's it. So I'm not listing all the class because I can't list all the classes for all the times because they may change. And also you just give me if you want to switch, for example, to the AM, you indicate AM. And then you indicate a class and the office will see if they can get you that class, or I'll look and see. But I'm not listing everything. I don't have time, and B, those classes may change by September. I'm just trying to get a general idea of what you're interested in.
Yes, but me, what I say, maybe I have different, I know what I want for the first time, but I don't know if there is a space, a spot there. That's why I choose like free or.
Yeah, no, you don't have to worry about that part because it's only a waiting list right now.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not your concern whether there's a spot.
Thank you.
So by picking more doesn't mean you'll get a space. So if you picked more than one, then I will choose one and put that in when I send the information to the office. You won't get a chance to put 2 or 3 choices. Hatchet?
Yes, teacher. For me, the last question. For me, I don't know what I should put for the last question.
If you want an ESL class, choose which one you want.
Yes, I choose the. By the way, I changed my mind. I choose the student support worker. So I am doing that class in September.
So then you don't pick anything else. You can only have one class. You can't do 2 classes.
So I know, but I choose that one. But the last question, I don't know what to choose.
You don't choose anything because you're only allowed one class. So you would choose one and don't fill up the rest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Xavier.
Yeah, sorry, teacher. I want to ask a question about that email you just sent. So I would like to know why do we need to choose the place? There is not there a I place after this one.
There's not one.
I want to know if there is no I place after this one.
Right now, there are no classes yet in September. It's too early.
Yes, of course, in September. So there is class in September. So after this class, there is no the following class.
You mean in September?
Yeah.
Yeah, there aren't any classes set up in September. You're on a waiting list until the classes are ready.
Okay.
So right now, because of money, funding, they can't say, oh, yes, we're going to have all these classes. And then they don't want to leave many students without a class. So everybody goes on a waiting list. But I send my suggestions and the office will try to accommodate you in whatever class you want. That's it. But there are no classes. We finish on June 11th. You have a class until then. There's no summer school available. And in September, in August, you get an email from the office telling you which class you've been placed into. So whatever you choose on that list, that's what I'm going to suggest.
Okay, teacher, I mean this one. This is level 6, right? This class.
Yes.
So after level 6, there is no level 7?
There may be. I don't know. That's why those Get Set programs are there, because they're higher level.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Remember, one class. That's it. And if you don't fill out the form, I choose one for you, which is just a regular ESL class. So don't forget, Get Set is only at Albert. Some of it's online. There's no parking. There's no childcare. So that you have to make your decision there. And once you go into the Get Set, you can't come back to ESL. So you have to think about that too. Certain classes like healthcare, those kind of classes, you're supposed to go out and get a job. That's the idea. So choose carefully. Pauline?
Oh, sorry. I have another question. For that kind of training, they said the session is from September to the January, but they say is 4 weeks. What does it mean?
4 weeks?
Yeah, they say 4 weeks, but...
Pauline, did you attend the presentation? There was a presentation by the Get Set, with the group that's doing the Get Set.
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's a problem there. I don't know about this program. That's why there's a presentation. So I can't tell you. And that reminds me, there's another presentation coming up with, I think, Algonquin and Adult High School. So if you're interested in any of those, well, I'm sending everybody to that one too, so you can look at that one. Now, those classes are outside our program, so I wouldn't suggest them because they're not our schools, but you will get the information that you need to register. So if, Pauline, you're talking about some of those classes in that Get Set program are only for one term. And then the second term, you go on your placement. For example, the healthcare aid, they would place you in a retirement home, and that would be your internship. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Salva?
Yeah, teacher. So when we choose, we're going to have the course, yeah? And then after that, they're going to put us in job, right?
Okay, let's get this clear. First of all, there is nowhere in Canada that they hand you a job after training. Okay? So don't misinterpret what I'm saying. It's a placement. That means you're training. You don't get paid.
Okay, I get it. Internship.
And you don't know if you're going to get in because the program has to decide if they're going to take you. They have their own testing.
Okay.
So you'll have to wait to get an email.
Okay.
So I would say check your emails over the summer. Any other questions? Zara.
Sorry, teacher, for the academic operating that has 3 lessons or 3 classes, which include the academic pathway and communication, and the other one, it's the success strategies and test preparation. So in the form, just mention communication.
Yeah, because the other ones are lower, and I don't think it's good for you because some of them are only 4+. That means you're going to be with students who are at 4 or 5 benchmark. I don't think you want to be there.
Okay, so teacher, for the academic upgrading, we just choose the communication.
If you're interested, if that's your interest, so go back to the website and check to see what the description is.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of writing.
Yeah.
And if you don't need to do all that writing, that's not the course for you.
Okay. Thank you, teacher.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I appreciate
it. So be careful, because if you're not interested in getting certificates or upgrading your education, then you don't want to go into these classes. There's a lot of homework. And for the ones like healthcare aid, you have to be there every day. There's no excuse about appointments. Same with adult high school. You have to be there every day. So think about it. Think about your schedule, what's good for you now. You can always take these programs later. You don't have to do them right now. So if you can't find one that you like in the Get Set, then you just pick one of the ESL classes. But you can only have one. Okay, any other questions? All right. So fill out that form, and schedules going in for next week, or for the end of term. That will come out tomorrow, so you'll see the dates for the end of term, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have a good afternoon, teacher.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good afternoon, teacher.
Bye-bye. Halika?
Oh, teacher, I just want to talk to you at the end of the class.
Okay.
是不一样的，要跟重庆这么说，真的。
Yeah.
而且我跟你说，我觉得我是非常赞成去公立学校的，